Hello, we're live. I am very excited to introduce you to two fantastic people that I have here with me today, Kahlia Ferguson and Lawson Doyle. They're the leading frontman and frontwoman for Brisbane five-piece Sunflower. They got together in 2019 but haven't wasted any time since then. They released their single Get Yourself Together just this last Friday. It's the second release following Better Days that was released in May. If you would like to ask any questions during the interview, please feel free to pop them in the chat box. And on that note, I'll introduce you to Kahlia and Lawson. Hello.
Hello.
Hey. So good to have you with us today. I guess we'll just jump straight into the questions. So for each of you, what was it that first ignited your passion within music, and what was it that made you decide to then pursue music as a career?
That's a good question. I like that.
I grew up, straight in. I grew up in a very musical family. So both my parents are musos. My mum's a classical musician, and my dad was a rocker in Sydney for a number of years. So my whole family has always been super musical. So everyone would always sing in the car. That's how I learned to sing, and picking up an instrument was just really natural and normal. I didn't realize it could be any other way. Basically, that was just how my family was. It's just always been a part of my life, and I honestly couldn't imagine doing anything else. I love music more than anything.
Yeah, for me, my parents are the ultimate fans. They're like the perfect fan. Both of them are just hardcore about my music. Probably my dad even a little bit more so than my mum, but they both love and appreciate music. But my mum was a pianist, and my dad played guitar very badly. Still plays guitar very badly. I tell him he's good though, because positive reinforcement.
Hopefully, he's not watching the interview.
He's 67, so he needs the positive reinforcement. There's still time. My dad's mum was massive in the influence for me. She got me playing piano when I was about 6, and she never beat it into me. I think some people unluckily get that kind of, it becomes a chore, and I never had music as a chore, more like we used to play the Beatles and stuff, so it wasn't, and we did Beethoven as well, but it wasn't all Beethoven and no Beatles. Yeah. So that's where it started for me.
Fantastic. And what was it that made you decide to say, this is the point where I'm going to take this seriously? There's no sort of turning back from me.
Well, I can't remember not feeling that way, oddly, because before I was in Sunflower, I was in a family band, and that started when I was 14. So basically, we were playing pubs and clubs and festivals since I was at the beginning of high school, and that's when basically I started taking it seriously. Okay, this is what I'm doing now forever. And but not a forced way. That's all I wanted to do. I couldn't wait to get home from school, or get to the weekend and get to play the pub and the club. And I was 14, but I could hold my own on a stage, and I loved it. So so
big game, eh?
I was though. I look back at that, I'm like, damn.
Yeah, nice.
I loved it though. I was so I was probably super cringy, but whatever. I loved it. Hey, I loved music. Always, yeah.
I grew up I always had jobs. I'm now full time. We're both full time, and we obviously do the covers circuit as well, because that's the bread and butter, as they say. But I've always had jobs. Probably about 2 years ago for me, I wouldn't say it was the time when I took it seriously, but it was I was taking it seriously a long time before that. But it was the time I jumped in the deep end and I quit my job, and it was really confronting, because it's because I don't know anyone who really has done that or did that, So it was really different for me to do that, and it was a big push for me to do that and go full time with music. But I no regrets, and I haven't gone back. So
no, fantastic. So let's jump into Sunflower. So how did you both first come together?
Explosive. The musical gods were at power that night.
It's all very dramatic. We were both we were both in different bands. So Lawson was in a rock band called Port Royal, and then I was in a family band called the Fergies, and both our bands were competing at a Blues Fest Battle of the Bands competition. And neither of us won, but like, well, I won the prize actually.
But we all really won at the end of it.
But
You
we
know
all
what I mean?
really won.
The real winner is Sunflower. You know.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
No, but we met. We just like I know like both of us are really driven people and very,
OCD.
like, passionate and very.
It's called
OCD.
OCD. Yeah.
Like and workaholics. Like we both.
It's
have,
a diagnosis.
We both have problems. We have issues. So yeah, like we can both relate to each other in that way. We're like, man, you're like me. So we didn't. The band didn't start straight away. It was like 6 months after. Like both our bands sort of fell apart a bit, and we were doing a lot of writing together.
Well, the weird thing with fate, and I know it's a tricky thing whether people believe in it or not, but is that, you know, like the decline, like things weren't perfect in your world, nor were they in mine, and the decline of things almost happened at exactly the same time. So everything sort of was in a place where, and there was difficulties in that time, but everything was in a place where it was like it was either going to happen then or it was never going to happen.
Yeah,
it was going to kick off.
Yeah.
And it became a fresh baby only at the start of the year. Like I think we announced Sunflower on I think January 4th was the date, or 5 was the day we announced Sunflower. But it had been in hiding. It had been, you know,
brewing
behind the scenes. Yeah, but no one really knew about it. So
excellent. Well, now we have you here, so it's great.
Pleasure. It's a pleasure.
So the name Sunflower, where did that first come about?
Oh well, yeah, Kahlia's nickname is we used to call her Sunflower. We used to say she was a sunflower because she radiates positive beams. That's not meant to be. That's not meant to be said.
He's not actually as nice. I hope everyone knows that.
Yeah,
He's putting it on for the interview.
Yeah, for all you viewers at home, I'm a lovely person. Yeah. So anyway, that was her nickname. But it turns out, and this is some real geography, weird stuff. But her star sign, you're a Leo, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's your flower?
Yeah.
But we didn't find out until later. But it made sense, didn't it? Like it. And then we're like, oh, what do we call it? And it's like, you know, I've always been against calling your band, even though I love a lot of bands that are like this, but calling them the something. So I didn't want it to be the Sunflowers or the Flowers or something. It is literally just Sunflower.
And also like the flower basically means like happiness and loyalty and like togetherness and stuff like that. And without being too hippie, because like, you know, there's a 70s vibe to our music, but we're not a hippie band.
Oh, it rises to the sun.
We do. Yeah. Like
sunflowers face the sun. That's awesome.
Yeah, the imagery was cool.
Oh, absolutely. And I guess your music reflects that message as well. So we'll get a little bit into your music shortly. But before we do, so for those who aren't familiar with your music, how would you describe your sound?
We say the love child of Oasis and Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah, it is kind of like that. Yeah,
it's anthemic. It's anthemic. It's just big choruses, big power ballads. You know, tasty rock riffs mixed with blues sensibility and soul.
Yeah,
you know,
like soul rock style.
It's got so much soul to it.
But it definitely has a modern edge to it. Like it's certainly not. Doesn't sound like something you'd hear in the 70s, but it has a nod to that era. I'd say.
Would you say that Fleetwood Mac and similar bands would be your influences, or do you have some other influences that have inspired you along the way?
Oh, they're definitely major influences.
The blues thing's a big part of it. Like the blues, and the Beatles-esque melody and pop sensibility is definitely where it comes into it. But the blues basic rhythms and energy is definitely a big part of the songwriting process.
Yeah, but like we also love like Lana Del Rey and the Black Keys and who else?
Oasis.
yeah. No, but we do love a lot of like more modern music too. But yeah, there was something special that happened in the 70s, I reckon, musically. It's just so much good music.
And music and acid, probably. Good comment.
Probably.
So you just touched a little bit on your songwriting process. How would you explain your songwriting process within the band? Is one person sort of more involved than the other, or how does it work for you?
Every song is different. Like Get Yourself Together, for instance, I wrote pretty much all of it, and then Better Days. Yeah, I did. And then Better Days, Lawson pretty much wrote all of that. but like our next single, we both wrote that one, and so yeah, like every song is definitely different. But we're both like big songwriters. Like we both have always written and love writing. So sometimes the songs are more written by me or more Lawson, and then we meet this happy medium place where we both write a song. It's a bit of a tug of a war songwriting process, but it's good. I think it results in something really special. So yeah.
Fantastic. And do you ever collaborate with anybody else in terms of the songwriting process, or is it very inside the band?
Nah, it's very inside the band.
Yeah,
I'm not anti it, but I think too many cooks in the kitchen spoils the meal sometimes.
Like our band all play major roles in their own, obviously, like instrumental parts and stuff. But I don't know. I feel like it's a special thing in this. I feel like the fans of this band want to hear Lawson and my stories. I feel like that's the thing. No one else in our band really.
That's incredibly egotistical of you.
But it's true. But it's true.
She says that in the most like lighthearted way, but I'm like, wow, that's incredibly egotistical. Everyone wants to hear about us.
Okay.
But I think we can feel that in your music as well. There's a strong message that definitely goes through the songs that you have released.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like consistency wise, because like Lawson and I are singing the songs at the end of the day. So if we're singing someone else's story, I don't know. I feel like it just wouldn't feel cohesive. And everything you're going to hear from this band, touch wood, I think is going to be a story that's either mine or his or both of ours. And I think that's cool. Like I think that feels authentic and true. So that's fun. I mean,
it's very real. It's not. None of it's meant to be, some sort of like materialistic, superficial kind of crap. Like it's all meant to be very. It's all meant to be very relatable. Yeah. But it's just is what it is.
Excellent. And I think you can see that coming through. And for anybody who's watching who hasn't heard their music, definitely have a listen and you can hear that theme as well. So on Friday, you released your single, Get Yourself Together. How did that song come about?
Well, I wrote that song the night that this person that I love very much told me that he loved me. And the next morning I woke up and I just had this, because basically this person, he like was wonderful, but he was making a lot of life choices that were damaging to him and damaging to our relationship. And it was sort of just a message to him to be like, hey, like we have something special here, get it together, or, it just can't work, it's never going to really work the way we want it to. But even though specifically for me it's about that, I feel like the song is also, especially that chorus, is kind of general enough that like it just feels empowering. Like like it's certainly not a song that's trying to like knock him for it. It's like I believe in you, I believe you can do it, and the song as a whole sounds like really empowering and uplifting. Like come on, So yeah, that's basically what I wrote it like about sometime last year. I can't remember when, but.
It's about making it happen.
Yeah, exactly. About making it happen for yourself and knowing and believing in you and what you can do and what you're capable of, and not settling in that rut that you're in. That's basically what that's.
And with your first release as well, Better Days, being along the same line, is there a message that you're trying to send with these themes, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think the general message behind the whole process to the songwriting is meant to be optimistic and hopeful. Like not in a like a dream world kind of way. Like just like like things are hard and things are challenging, but you can make something good happen for yourself if you want it to happen.
Yeah.
And it's, for me, it stems from like when I was 15 and I used to, I'll bring them up again, but I used to passionately listen to Oasis. And anyone who's ever listened to that band knows that those choruses are just the greatest thing in the world, and when they hit, they make you explode inside. There's like an adrenaline rush mixed with the best feeling you've ever felt in your life, just combined into this just little magical moment, and you can repeat that by repeating the song or whatever.
I'm a low-key fan.
I'm a low-key obsessed fanboy. Like I think they're amazing, and so for me, sorry, I'm cutting myself out of picture here. Sorry. recovering from the weekend, so we're a little bit shaky. Yeah, for me, it was like writing songs. It's like so important that become that feeling came across in what we were doing too. So, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. So it was May that you released your first single. How do you feel that the process between the first release and the second release was? Was there any difference in terms of the second time you were going through?
Definitely.
You learn a lot.
Yeah.
You don't do a lot of stuff the same way.
Yeah. We both released music in our previous bands before, but you learn something new every time. Like,
don't rush things, I think, is the most important thing. Like, there's such a culture at the moment to like have stuff out and like, what's next, and like, even though like we're using this sort of coronavirus thing to sort of try and be a bit ahead in terms of the recording sense of things, but you know, like not putting anything out that's like anything but perfect, or you know, never going to be perfect, but you know, anything but exactly what you want it to be, you know, at the level you want it to be, because you only get one shot at releasing these songs. You know what I mean? That's the way I sort of have looked at it for Get Yourself Together, is like it should have been out 3 months ago, but you know, Better Days made sense at the time, and then Better Days should have been out 2 months before that. But you know, they happen the way they happen, and you know, we got really lucky with this, like with the music video all coming together so beautifully in a very short space of time. And you know, there's a lot of people behind the scenes that deserve a lot of credit, you know, for making everything happen. That help a lot. So,
and how did you find going through all the process during COVID? Obviously, it brings up its own challenges as well.
Yeah, it has been really difficult. Like, because obviously, you know, as an artist, you know, you make them like money as a band by touring and by selling merch and by playing festivals, and you can't do any of those things right now. So literally, like, you don't make a lot of money from like releasing music or music videos or anything like that, or social media. You make nothing.
You spend money.
Yeah, you spend money, which you need to have made from touring and playing festivals. So and also like just like reaching people and like gaining fans. There's like those key elements of festivals and events and shows. Like none of that is happening at the moment. So that's been very difficult because, you know, we are a fresh new band. So releasing singles at the moment, we've had to like solely rely on just trying to create the best content and music that we possibly
We need a hype man. We need a lunatic who can cross the border somehow. And go around.
Anyone who's out there, you know who to reach out.
Yeah.
We'll pay the fine. Yeah.
It has been really tricky, but we've just been really focusing on the creative side of things and just writing and trying to release good music and pushing those boundaries. And, you know, really proud of the music video. That a lot of time went into that as well. And yeah, so I don't know, it is really different. Obviously, it's super, super different and very challenging, like really challenging. And a lot of our friends who are musos have just sort of like called it quits in a lot of ways because there's not a lot that you can do right now, which is really heartbreaking. But I think you just have to adapt to the times. It's not really survival of the fittest; it's survival of the whoever can adapt the best.
Things are going to like be very different for a lot of musicians, like original musicians, that is. And it's kind of a timely thing though. Like it's probably made a lot of people have to get their, you know, like their social media up and like their EPKs done,
learn
and
how to do that stuff.
Yeah, make sure that their platform looks nice and they get that intricate thing sorted out that they were meant to get sorted out 2 years ago and they still haven't done it. And it's like,
or you give up.
The stakes are high. Like you know, the thing is, like, you become not just a functional musician in terms of your so to speak, your talent, but your actual like running of your own business sort of thing becomes, you have, like, it's survival of the fittest. So you either quit or you get good, or you just struggle.
You evolve, So we're doing everything we can right now.
Or you get good and struggle.
So how do you think that the COVID situation is going to change the long-term future of music?
Gigs. I think large gatherings of gigs are going to be interesting for a while. I think, you know, I hope it does something good for the
local music.
Yeah, but also for how people value things, because now that you can't have it, it's like, you know, sitting at home on a Saturday night sounds pretty boring when you can never do it. You know what I mean? And, I mean, we're in Queensland right now, so we sort of have that luxury that we still can somewhat go out, but even still everything's restricted and you can't dance and like all that kind of, even those little things, it's like those little moments you share with your friends and you share with your family and your loved ones, and it's sort of like those also just the socializing side of like being out and meeting people at a gig is just so fantastic, you know.
I fully agree with that, actually. I think people were getting used to like only having to pay a $5 or a $10 ticket to see 20 bands. Like that's a thing that isn't happening now. Like you have to spend $40 to see 2 bands, or you know what I mean? Like local music. I mean, so I think people will value live music and local artists a lot more now. And that whole interaction. I don't think it's going to be like this forever. I think this time next year is going to look a lot better and a lot different. We just have to kind of like wait out this year, I think. I even think festivals will be back within the next year or two. So. But I just think people will value it a lot more and be more hungry for it. And
it's tricky. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting.
It will be interesting. Yeah.
See you on the other side.
Yeah.
So going back to your release, what was, for those who don't understand the process and what's involved, are you able to sort of give a little bit of an understanding to them about what's involved in terms of putting together your release, in terms of putting together your music video and all the processes that you went through?
Yeah. Well, so from the get-go, we write the song. So one of us writes the song.
Ideally.
Get yourself together. Ideally, yeah. So I wrote the song. I brought it to the band. Lawson did some lyric tweaking. We made it what it was, and then brought it to the band, did the whole arrangement. Then the point where we decided it was a single, we demoed it. So did like a really rough recording to make sure we liked how it sounded. And it didn't have to be perfect. We just did it at someone's house. And then from there, once we were happy with it, and probably took a couple of weeks to get all the parts solid, we took it to the studio, then re-recorded all the parts.
We re-recorded the song 3 times, actually.
Yeah, the song was a pain in the butt,
because it was there was like 3 different versions of the song. There was like and different intros, and one was like 4.5 minutes, and one was like 3.5 minutes, and it's like
this one was painful to get.
The version we have now is the way it is because there was so much refining that went on, you know.
And our bassist Sam Woods produced this version of Get Yourself Together that we've released, and he did an amazing job. But he spent hours and hours and hours over a couple of months.
He hates me now because we don't actually talk outside of band affairs because I was back to him I was like, nah, that vocal delay is just like 0.065 of a second too long, you know.
And then from there, hours worth of sending the song out to people and doing press, and then we had the music video, which took 3 days to film. Then there was like, you know, a couple 3 weeks probably worth of actually like so Alec, the director, and I came up with the concept, and then he built the storyboard and the script, and then we found all the actors.
He's a genius, to be honest.
He's amazing. Alex Schultz, definitely check him out. Then we filmed it. Then he spent like, somehow he condensed his workload into like 2 weeks, or was it 2 weeks to get the music video together, which is crazy. Like that doesn't happen, editing it and getting it colored and everything. And then on top of that, we also did the premiere party on Friday to get some hype going and stuff. So yeah, we've been working our butts off for.
So that's why I'm not. Don't think I'm being antisocial.
We are just very, very strong.
Yeah.
So a lot of hours. Yeah.
Yeah. So it sounds like you do a lot of that process yourself as well, which
completely independently.
We're completely indie back. It's massive.
I think you have to do it that way. I once had a guy tell me, you know, he was in a band in the 80s, this old guy, and he plays around Brisbane now and stuff, and just for fun and whatnot. But he told me his biggest regret was like he was in a band that were like on the come up, and they sort of had this whole belief the whole time that, you know, they just got to get signed so the record label can sort it all out, and they just got to get signed. And they never got to that point because they never allowed themselves to do the things or learn the things that had to be done. But even still, he's like, every band I know that went to do, like, he knew Powderfinger and he knew UMI and Regurgitator and all those kind of bands. And he said every one of those bands did well because they put themselves they learned how to do. Everyone in the band had a role, and everyone knew how to do that role, and they knew how to do it properly. So when the record label came along, they knew what was, so to speak, right for them. They knew what they needed to do. They now had backing to do it, and it's sort of like I got told that like 5 years ago, and it's really stuck with me. It's like, well, if you don't know how to do something, maybe Google it.
Yeah.
You know,
It's true. Yeah, totally.
so everything, you got to be a full 360-degree, you know, self-functioning business.
You do, especially in this time. Like, we do everything ourselves, everything from the social media to the bookings to just everything. But like,
people say, "Oh, you're doing
we've also
well,"
got-
and then on the inside, you're like, "Really?" You're like, "I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing enough." You feel like you're not
We're
doing
also
enough.
supported by some pretty beautiful, amazing people, like Alec, for instance.
You've got a good team.
Yeah, we're very lucky in that.
Yeah. So how many people would you say would be on your regular kind of inside team?
Probably. No, well, other than us, there's probably depends what we're doing, but yeah, there's probably. I mean, there's your sister as well who helps a lot, and there's outside of the band, there's probably like a consistent 3 or 4 people, maybe 2 or 3 people who are like there all the time.
Yeah.
Someone like Mike as well, and obviously Joe Set.
True.
So we've got a small, but then like this is our first video with Alec. But to be honest, like if Alec's available and willing to do it, I don't see the need to ever want to outsource that beyond availability. To he's shown us that he's passionate about the project and he can make magic things happen. So loyalty is a big thing in this game, and I know a lot of people who disregard it, and I think it's really important. So
okay, I know we've touched on it a little bit, but for any artists that might be watching this live stream at the moment or watching it back, do you have any advice if they're wanting to get themselves out there? Maybe they're a little bit inspired by what you've been doing. What advice would you give them?
Well, I reckon the first advice would be find that thing in yourself that makes you different and that you're probably bullied about in school, or like people make fun of you about, or like jab at you about and stuff, and embrace it completely. Like whether it's like a hair color or the way you say it, like if you have a lisp or I don't know, like anything, honestly, or like you like a certain thing, or you're like maybe a little flamboyant or over the top or anything, embrace that. That is gold, because that is the stuff that sets you apart from everyone else and makes people remember you. And yeah, like don't try to be the next Taylor Swift, don't try to be the next Ed Sheeran or next Oasis or whatever. Like find that thing in you that's unique and different. And it may even just seem normal to you, but just if you embrace who you are completely, people won't be able to ignore you. Really important to do that.
I'm going to say the most cliche thing in the world, but I'm going to say don't let the haters get you down, because as you start to do things and as you start to put yourself out there, people love to slander you, people love to put you down, people love to say anything they can and make anything up they can to try and hurt you because they're that way inclined for whatever reason. And if we as people, I think we react to negativity so much more significantly than we do to positivity, but there's so much beautiful positivity around. So it's controlling that and being aware of that is something that's going to happen, but it shouldn't make you, and it sort of ties into what Kahlia's saying, but it shouldn't make you want to change who you are. And as long as you're a good person and that you do the right thing and you're in it for the right reason and your heart's in it, you'll be unstoppable. But very important that you don't lose sight of that.
Yeah. Is that something that throughout your journey you've seen a lot in terms of either yourselves or people around you?
Heaps. Yeah. Really? The music industry's really tough. It's the only thing that the thing that keeps me still passionate and believing is because the inner circle we have at the moment. I feel so blessed to have that. There's a lot of young guys and girls out there who are just starting things for the first time, and people are going to let them down, and people are going to promise them the world and then never deliver, and people are going to lie to them, and people are going to lie about them, and they're going to pretend to be their friend, and then they're going to stab them in the back. It sounds, I'm not trying to be pessimistic, but it's very confronting stuff, especially when you're just starting and it's sort of got this really like bright, nice outer thing, and you think everyone's accepting and stuff. And in an ideal world, that'd be the case. It's very competitive, and but you know, at the same time, the thing you've got to focus on is you being the best you can be, and worrying about the people that matter in your team. And we've been really, I feel blessed to especially like with the way Sunflower has become what it has in a short space of time, to have that. So.
Well, I think the online world can be really hard too for like anyone, especially kids. I really feel for kids growing up with social media in a lot of ways, because it can really define you in those formative years. Like when I was 14 through to 17, I think was the family band that I was in. We put for a few years. I put like covers up on YouTube, and we actually became quite big. Like we had like songs around millions of plays and stuff. But as a kid, like 14, 15, 16, I would go online and I would read all the comments. And obviously, like there were, you know, a lot of people viewing it, a lot of people commenting. There are a lot of people who say a lot of really awful things. And I've heard it all about myself at this point. Like there is nothing anyone could say that I have not read a million times over. And as a kid, that messed with my head. Like I lost sight of who I was, because I just had all this negativity just going around in my head. And I shouldn't have read it, but you just do. It's there. You want to know what people think of you when it's so easy to access. And the best thing I ever did was just like close it down and just never go on and just not read it and be like, I would rather not know. I'm oblivious to it. I don't want to know what you think of me, you know, like, and then start to figure out how to like be into me and love me and believe in what I'm doing, you know. So also just online stuff, I totally agree with the whole, you read one bad comment and that's the thing that you take away from, and it's best just to not even just go there. And not
I love that YouTube even gives the ability to have a dislike.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's that about? What's that about? It's like, what's that about? It's like, if you don't like it, don't look at it. I don't know, don't view it. Like, but
like unproductive negative.
Yeah. It's like people love to have their opinion, you know. It's like an asshole.
So at what point did you turn around and say, I'm not going to read this anymore? What changed that for you?
Well, to be honest, at the point where I was really mentally like depressed and anxious, and I couldn't eat, and it just messed with my head. Like I just was so upset all the time. But like obviously, like I was always going to be as a kid, like reading these awful messages about the way I looked, the way I sounded, the way I sang, my music, the way I was writing songs, the way I was talking, how I was interacting with my siblings. Like people had stuff to say about everything. And it got to the point where I felt frozen, like I couldn't do anything without worrying that I was going to piss someone off in the comment section. And I shouldn't have even cared about it. Like when I look back now, I'm like, wow, that was something actually, like that comment section was so important to me. But at the time, like, yeah, again, when it's so easily accessible to see what people think about you, you're going to look and it's going to shape you. So yeah, at the point where it was just, where I just, you know, hated everything about myself and who I was and everything. Yeah, I guess rock bottom, I got to the point where I was like, I'm not going to do this anymore. And I'm good now. Like if I accidentally read something or something pops up in my messages, it's bad. I'm old enough now to be like, oh, well, you know, this guy doesn't like me or doesn't like my voice. It's all right. Join the club. There's someone else around the corner who probably doesn't as well. And I believe in myself enough now, but I had to take the time to step away from it to actually get to that point. So,
yeah. That's fantastic. That's so good. So what's next on the horizon for Sunflower?
Well,
love to play a show.
Yeah,
sometime soon.
Yeah.
Well, mate, we're meant to be touring, and meant to be touring with some
probably early next year.
Yeah, undisclosed Australian bands who are probably in the more established world of things, but that's all very
under wraps at the moment.
Yeah, it's all very, and it's all in a maybe category with everything that's going on. So they're not even sure themselves what they're doing. But we're heading back into the studio in 2 weeks' time already to do the third single, and learning, writing, becoming wiser, growing older, drinking more beers,
learning more each time.
Yeah,
we're just gonna keep pushing it and work hard. Hey.
Yeah, but just write better songs. Try better songs
for better days.
for better days.
So ultimately, if everything sort of lines up the way that you want to, where would you like to end up as a band long term?
That's an interesting question. Never really been asked that, funnily enough. It's like,
Yeah. We're not in this to be a small band. Like, we want to be the biggest band ever. We want everyone to come to shows. We want to meet all our idols. We want to change people's life and for them to tattoo our lyrics on their skin and come out, sell out arenas and have our songs on the radio and, you know, all the big things. Yeah.
I just want to do what my idols have done for me. You know what I mean? I know it sounds a bit cliche, I guess. I've said a few cliches tonight, but you know, like that 15-year-old Lawson that was listening to it would have been Supersonic and Champagne Supernova by Oasis for the first time. It's like blows your mind, you know. Nothing else matters, you know. Like everything in your life sort of makes sense all of a sudden, you know. It's like, and people are like, oh, what? Like, and it's also at the same time, it's like it's just music, you know. Like it's just music. It's a total taste built thing as well, and all that kind of stuff. But like, Oasis is the next level, so that doesn't matter. But that, you know, the influence they had on me was just like, wow, I can do and be whoever I want to be. Like if I set my mind to it,
awesome.
And to be that for someone else would be the ultimate like honor, you know. Like, but you know, the works, there's a long road ahead for that to happen, and the songwriting's got to happen as well to make, you know.
Oh, well, you're well on the way. Is that what success would look like to you, do you think, when you feel like you're influencing, or what would it feel like to be, or at what point would you feel like you've been successful at what you're doing?
I'd love to have a number one song.
Yeah. But I don't think, to be honest, I don't think we're, to be perfectly real with you, I don't think we're ever going to feel successful.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But there'll always be another mountain, you know.
There's always another mountain.
Like that too, you know?
Yeah, there's the self-discovery side of things as well, though. Like, there's also the point where you can look at like your hard work, I guess, and be like, shit, we achieved things.
Yeah,
you know? Like we did. I still feel like that now. I'm still like, you know, like we're getting a spin on Triple J tonight, and it's like, you know, if you'd told me that 3 years ago, I'd be like, nah, wouldn't happen, you know. And now it's like we're on Australia's biggest national youth radio station tonight. So, you know, and right now it means what it means in comparison
to the music video.
Yeah.
Like I watched it today. I'm like, damn, if I'd known, like, I would have been so stoked as a teenager if I'd known that was the music video we were going to release. I would have been like, yes, hell yeah. Like, it's so good, you know?
Yeah, I guess that's the thing. At each level, you kind of get that next idea of what you're going to do.
Oh, we've got so much learning to do too. Like we've got so much still to do. So much discovery.
Yeah. So I guess what's been the highlight so far up to this point?
Well, coronavirus hit like 2 months after we started the band, so like
there's been some crazy times. There's been some experiences.
Yeah, but I mean, going to Melbourne was pretty awesome as a band. Like,
Friday night,
really fun time.
Friday night was good.
Oh, our premiere party, yeah. On Friday night, it was just a room full of like love, and it was so.
It was limited because of the restrictions on numbers, but it was a really great group of people. Like it was a really solid group.
And we
of
got
people.
to play some songs, and they were just so into it, like, you know, dancing and singing along, and lighters in the air, and it was just like really beautiful. It makes me excited for when we play shows again. It was really good.
Yeah, you forget that people love music, don't you?
You do forget, don't you?
And love live music too. Like live music, you know, when everything's roaring at the same time, and all the amps are fired up, and the speakers are pumping, and you know the drums are pulsing, and the bass is just smooth, and it's all happening. It's great.
It'll be interesting to see a room full of people again.
Yeah.
So if our audience is looking to find your music, where can they go to?
Spotify, Apple Music, Deezer, Amazon Music, YouTube.
But we do have a lot of links on their profile at soundsonthecouch.com as well.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Thanks to everything you guys do as well for Australian music. It's very important.
We really appreciate it. Hey.
And thank you so much for joining us today. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with everyone before we finish up?
Go listen to Champagne Supernova by Oasis.
Oh my God.
I'll be listening to it tonight. I'll be listening to it tonight.
Yeah. Just hold in there. Anyone watching, especially if you're in Melbourne right now. I know it must be really hard, but
The greater
I'll learn that.
part of Victoria, everyone in Victoria.
Yeah, or if you're overseas, even just hang in there, 'cause this isn't going to be forever. Nothing is forever. This won't be forever. It'll pass, and things will be relatively back to normal soon. So
Listen to
we'll see you then.
Listen to Sunflower. Yeah,
In the meantime, yeah.
that's your homework.
Thank you so much for joining
Thank
us.
you.
Thank you.